Oh, hello! Welcome to the caster desk. I'm Quickshot, joined by Dagda and this amazing Berlin crowd. We're about to jump into Team Heretics taking on SK Gaming, and to do that, we need to meet the players. And welcome back to day 3 of the Winter Split in 2023. I'm immediately going to turn my attention to the draft and ask you, Dagda, what do you want to see from these respective teams? I think I want to spend a little bit more time on SK as they are coming into this 0-2. In my mind, they haven't quite found either a composition or a playstyle that has netted them an impact in the game. We've seen better things from many of the other teams over the last 2 days.
Yeah, it does feel like they're trying to find an identity through this bot side, right? We're seeing Markoon playing very heavily around Exakick and DOS, and I like that they've gone for things like the Zeri, right? Trying to set up this kind of late game carry, put Exakick in the driver's seat, but I think they kind of need to settle on, okay, we're going to go for this, because yesterday we saw the Kindred coming out from Markoon, and it felt like they weren't really able to set themselves up for success in the same way. Markoon, I feel like, kind of needs to set himself up as that leadership role in this squad. He's the guy with the longest tenure on this team, and I'd rather see him on something like a Vi, a Sejuani, even the Maokai as well, where he can play that engaged role, kind of be that voice on the team, and set up for this rookie bot lane to be their mainstay cards.
I mean, there's a big parallel to be drawn between Markoon and Jankos with their respective teams. Both players have got the highest amount of experience out of all the players on their squads. Both players are likely the voices that are going to have a little bit more impact, especially during the early game, because of course their role and their experience. The difference there is that Jankos has way more reps than Markoon. So I do think that Markoon of 2022 that was taking over games that had that gigantic impact, we're waiting to see him find that groove with this SK roster.
Yeah, it does feel again like he can still play to that style that we saw in XL, like playing around Patrick in that bot side, just replace that with Exakick, because I think at least looking at scrims, SK Gaming have been doing absolutely fantastic. It's just a case of trying to translate that to the stage, right? And I think trying to play for Exakick and DOS, these newcomers that have been so hyped coming in from the LFL, feels like the way for them to go forward.
In Exakick and DOS, they've had the Zeri, Varus, as well as Yuumi and Karma thus far in their 2 previous games. In terms of bans, Heimer, Jack, Siva, Rise, Lucian, and Berlin wants them to ban the cat.
Yeah, the big question is, do you ban the cat here, so you end up taking away the Zeri option, or you maybe give Zeri and Lulu across, or do you ban the Maokai and try and give yourself something like a Caitlyn Lux as an answer? There's a lot of stuff here that can kind of go on, but some way, somehow, you're getting Maokai, Yuumi, or that Caitlyn through the graft, but they will listen to the crowd, and they'll be very happy.
Now, what is going to be the highest priority? Yeah, most likely that Maokai. We've seen that banned multiple times, as well as picked, and that's now secured here for Team Heretics, their first time on the blue side. And as we turn our attention to SK, priorities now, do they look to get themselves some of the, premier picks in that bottom lane? Zeri is still an option.
I think Zeri Lulu is probably your best bet, right? I think the Zeri just does so well across the board when you come into this. We saw it yesterday, didn't look too hot, but I still think Zeri is an incredibly good option alongside that Lulu. Looks like we will have a quick remake, but there we go. But yeah, Zeri going to be picked up. I think you actually take your jungler here as well, so then you can just try and answer effectively, because one of the big things that you're probably going to see coming across here is going to be something like a Caitlyn Lux as an answer for Jackspektra and Mersa in that bot side.
A lot of range, a lot of ability to keep you away. And Markoon, if he does lock in the Sejuani and does so, this is actually exactly what I was hoping to see from this squad. If Markoon is able to create opportunities, to create engages on this tank and on this frontline champion, he can then lead lead those younger players to a better situation. I think we've seen Sertuss having a slightly higher impact across the 2 games they've played, but it's really going to be up to Exakick and Irrelevant to step up here and turn this 2-game losing streak around if they want to try surprise Heretics. It's going to be Varus locked in instead of that Caedrel.
Yeah, and this is actually something that's become a bit of an LEC special. We haven't seen it as high in other regions, but certainly has been creeping in, this poke Varus. And although I do like it in certain respects, I think the biggest problem that we've seen with some teams is that they end up refusing to take kind of more damage-oriented mid laners or even junglers with them, right? So I think we're going to have to wait and see what Ruby's going to bring to the table now. So far, he's gone for the Cassiopeia, the Cassin. He has been that late game insurance for Heretics, and I think we're going to see if he's going to bring that to the table once more.
What do you think of this Lulu takeaway in terms of pairing it up with the Varus? I do like the combinations later in the game, especially with that Maokai potentially being able to run you down, use that wild growth as an additional kind of CC in engages.
So I'm actually wondering if it means we get on hit Varus, because one of the big things, obviously, Lulu gives you the attack speed, gives you that movement speed. You don't get that value when you end up going for the poke Varus instead. But otherwise, the Lulu doesn't make a huge sense. It's kind of just, as you say, a takeaway to stop the Lulu going across the Zeri, but you still have things like the Karma that can potentially go through it. You generally want to pair Zeri with some sort of enchanter because she does get that 10% movement speed once she gets a shield, so you want something that can, in general, give that to her, so she's a bit more useful in team fights.
Okay, interesting then, as the Sylas is now locked in for Sertuss. He's got 9 professional games played on the champion, only won 3 of them over the course of his career thus far. And of course, with the ability to steal away some of those impactful ultimates already, can have a gigantic impact. I like the Cassiopeia ban away. Ruby's had a fantastic performance on that one. I think he played Caedrel as well as his second champion. Another great, influential performance.
And also great into the Sylas, which is why we're seeing it banned away there. But it does leave the Azir open. And in Ruby, I mean, most played in his career. He's been playing all right the way back when he was in LPL and Rogue Warriors as well. All the way back in 2020 was his most played there. So I expect to probably see that go towards Ruby in the mid. And then you can still look to see exactly what you want to take for Evie in the top side. Casante's still open. He'll probably default back towards that.
Talked about that Azir. 29 games played on Azir. Next in most played, 27 on Victor. I can imagine the Azir Victor meta. I can see it right now. Yeah. The next most played was Syndra at 16. So their last ban was going to be Renekton, denying that option in the top lane. For the time being, SK Gaming now looking for their own top laner as well as support. You'd probably expect them to lock in their support now, then save that counter pick for Irrelevant, and it will, of course, be there for DOS.
And this is actually a really cool pickup, because a lot of what Heretics want to do here is, okay, we're going to throw down the Maokai ultimate, try and speed up, go in with the short range on hit Varus, I'm assuming, coming in thanks to Lulu. So you end up with the hostile takeover there. Very difficult for a short range composition to try and work within that, and especially if you are going to try and go for something like the Azir and these kind of things, it means you've kind of got this set up where it's like, okay, this is a front to back team fight. DOS can get so much value in those team fights.
What do you make of the duo lanes though? This is another slightly different look from what we've seen all weekend, and a little bit different throughout the course of the rest of the world. Zeri as well as Renata into that Varus Lulu.
Yeah, I mean, Zeri, I still like at least that you're getting an enchanter paired with her. You're not, the only problem that you're probably going to see is that like the push will be on the side of Jackspektra and the Lulu here, where you're able to continuously shove in. Renata doesn't have the best shove in the world in comparison, so we'll have to see exactly how that ends up affecting the mid lane, because my biggest worry now is that you've got pushing lane for Azir, pushing lane on the bot side here. Heretics can start to set up towards those dragons as well. And one of the big things that we've seen from Heretics is how good they are at playing around these objectives, getting to that objective early, looking for that pick before it. It's one of the big things that got them that win over Astralis, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them to use that bot lane priority to once more set up for those plays.
Of course, they're going to be a little bit cautious now. When you look at the champions put together, Sylas, Sejuani, as well as that Camille, the ability to jump into your face onto what are fairly low mobility champions on the Azir, as well as Varus. Yes, you've got that slide and glide, but it's going to be a big battle around positioning, and I think initiation tools as well. Going to be a little awkward here, Dagda, because both teams have got phenomenal disengage options. So you really have to be on point if you're going to start those fights.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see now how Relevant is going to slot into this, though, because he ends up going for the Camille in the end, and it hasn't been a champion that I kind of expect from him. He only has 1 game on it on the entirety of last year in his rookie year. He did end up taking a win on that, but I think overall I've kind of come to expect Irrelevant to be that more frontline tank player. So now going with the counter pick in the Casante, it kind of mixed things up up a little bit for SK, where maybe we actually see them playing a little bit heavier towards that top side and trying to see if they can utilize those solo lanes to take over the game instead.
I mean, I think if Markoon is able to create opportunities for either Irrelevant or Sertuss, make an impact on that Sejuani, you can absolutely then run all over Team Heretics. On the other hand, you talked a little bit about the waving lanes, and we'll jump onto Rift as we get into game number 1. And welcome to Summoner's Rift. Team Heretics 1-1 taking on SK Gaming's 0-2. I immediately like some of the adaptations that we've seen in the draft yet from SK. Markoon on that primary engage, and now looking at Irrelevant and Sertuss and saying to them, you need to step up. The reason I draw attention to that is I think Evie and Ruby have had pretty impressive, games thus far. Team Heretics have, dug deep, played heavy around there, but Ebby with those solo kills, like Caedrel was talking about, and I think Ruby on the Cassio and Kassadin really showing his prowess in that solo lane.
Yeah, I think Evie has been absolutely fantastic. This is his 3rd game in the Cassante, and we even heard Caedrel mention on the desk, like 2 solo kills both games so far. He's been very strong in that lane and making sure that he can keep control of this on this Cassante. The big question though is, as you say, like what happens with Ruby, because he hasn't had the strongest of early stages, but has come alive in the later portion of the game.
He really has, and I think quickly highlight a few of those numbers. When you take a look at his forward percentage, 17% on the champions like Cassio. Kassadin does tend to be a little bit pushed in, but I think more importantly, negative goal difference of 14, but then still putting out 777 damage per minute over the course of the game. And the big one for me, 80% kill participation.
Now, the damage is sky high because he is playing things like the Cassiopeia and the Cassin, right? Late game scalers that do a ton of damage once we get to that later point. But the kill participation is the one that's really impressive to me, and I think it kind of tells the story of how Heretics want to play, because especially when we look at the Astralis game, what they tried to do to a certain extent against Vitality is they will go, okay, Dragon is up, Rift Herald's up, we're going to reset very, very early, and we're going to make sure that we get to this objective first. We get down all the vision, we're going to camp a brush, we're going to try and make one quick pick, and suddenly it's an uneven fight. And this is where we kind of saw them start to snowball those games against Astralis. There's little mistakes here and there, but this is what I expect to see them coming in again against SK, who haven't been as focused on those objectives, or at least getting set up early on those objectives. And I think when you've got 2 pushing lanes on this bot side for Heretics in both mid and in the AD carry role, it feels like that's going to be their game plan once more.
You really got to capitalize on it, but that also means you got to set it up correctly.
Yep.
Have to have the game plan, have to be able to execute on it. I'm going to be playing into Jankos and Ruby on that Maokai and Azir. That's the combo I'm going to keep my eyes on throughout the course of this game. Obviously, we do have a small delay. As soon as I hear any information, I will let you know. But I'll take this brief moment just to remind everybody that we've only got 3 weeks in the regular season, right? 9 games in terms of this round robin. And for a team like SK who are already down 0-2, it starts to get very, very nerve-wracking if you do drop another game against teams that you are most likely expected to be competing with in that 6, 7, 8, 9 spot when you start looking towards the group stage. So just keep that in your mind. New format for this year, a lot more stakes.
And I think as well for a team like SK, where there was a lot of talk about them coming into the split as well, it has been unfortunate they haven't quite been able to find their success on the stage. But wait, as you already kind of alluded to, this is a very young squad, not a huge amount of experience when it comes to being in the LEC. So I think it will take them a little bit of time to find their footing. I'm just hoping, as you say, they manage to get themselves into a position where they can actually challenge for those best of 3s, because I think that's where they'll settle in and really find their stride.
And of course, you get all of the ability to adapt and understand your opponents in those BO3s, see how deep both teams' play styles and champion pools are. We jump back into this top lane. Abby once again pushing into Irrelevant. Still sitting with that Biscuit and Markoon. Level 3 gank in the mid lane. Forces the flash already on Ruby, and that is exactly what you want to see for SK.
Yeah, and just good transitional gank, right? Markoon doesn't really lose out on too much here. Yes, he burns the flash, but he wanted to move to his bot side anyway, so managing to get a little bit more control there for Sertuss. And Markoon could actually look for maybe a wrap around here if he wanted to, as Ruby doesn't have the flash, Sertuss does have his, so Ruby now may not actually be able to crash this wave as effective as he wants. That could cause issues here for the mid lane of Heretics.
And it's got to be very, very careful. Without that flash, the kill pressure from the Sylas, Sejuani, I mean, frankly speaking, even just the solo kill threat that Sertuss could pose once he gets access to that hijack cannot be understated. Jankos does want to have a small potential reply, but Irrelevant started the recall and is now going to linger.
Yeah, I think Heretics have got a good response though, right? Jackspektra shoves in bot side. We already talked about them having the push. He immediately recalls for that cull. He wants to try and get to, 2-3 items where this on-hit Varus comes alive, but they just let Mersa roam towards mid. He's like, hey, look, if anything goes awry, we'll have an extra body in the way. Maybe we can actually keep Ruby safe. And even Jankos once more, he's fully cleared. He's going to go towards his Raptors, but just hovering in mid-side to make sure that nothing happens to Ruby as he shoves this wave in.
Yeah, that wave was nearly at the tower of Sertuss' Sylas, and Jankos will jump into his jungle. It looks like Markoon will be clearing out the bottom half of his map. Take a brief moment here, just quickly talk about the early game expectations for both teams, because they both struggled a little, but I think for Heretics, I was quite shocked to see that they were down 1,800 gold at 14 minutes, because it did feel to me like some of their objective fights and team fighting later games were a little bit better than that stat would signify. And right now, Jankos trying to make an early move.
Yeah, we have to see if Jankos should find Exakick here, actually, if he wants to go.
Does go for the engage, but an easy hop over the wall to escape.
Zeri's a fun chap. Yeah. I think the big thing kind of looking at Heretics though is that like we see a huge amount of the time as Ruby should be able to walk out of this one is they, at least against Astralis, they had a good early start, but they kind of fumbled the ball a little bit, right? Where they try to go for the Rift Herald play. Okay, Evie TP's away,
yeah.
Right as Astralis go to fight them, right? So there's kind of little mistakes that are coming in, and that's where they kind of fell back into, okay, we'll look for picks in the late game. And then against Vitality yesterday, it actually was a relatively okay start. And then the team fight started going the way of Vitality, specifically at that second dragon as well. So I think that's where I want to see Heretic kind of cleaning up around those early objectives where they are all on the same page, they're all going the one direction, and then they can kind of let those individual performers on the team shine.
Yeah, of course, that is something somewhat to be expected. Beginning of the 2023 season, a lot of new players, a lot of new teams, so they've got to iron out some of those coordination and communication issues. Right now, both teams sitting pretty even as Sertuss has shoved that wave all the way forward. Exakick, with the help of DOS just a few moments ago, was able to bounce back in that bottom lane. They were pushed under their tower the first few early moments. Now Irrelevant with some backup here from Markoon. No flash available. Hook shot comes out as well as the engage. Stun comes down. Knock forward.
Here we go.
Secured. Evie will be able to find first blood. Now he turns his attention with a 2-level advantage onto Markoon. Sidestep but gets rooted in place. And Evie and Heretics find 2.
That's 3 for 3 solo kills for Evie. Welcome to the LEC, my friend. That was beautiful.
That was spectacular. If we get a replay of that, I want to take a look at Irrelevant and Markoon. What could they have done a little bit differently there? But great play out of Evie. We may not get a chance as Sertuss stepping to the bottom lane. Will miss that hijack, gets it on the second try. Chain of Corruptions that were stolen flies at, instantly cleansed away from. So cleanse and heal used on that threat.
And Markoon is now trying to make his way down as well, but we're going to hop into this replay. Again, walls are not your friend when you're playing against the K'Sante, and I love the way Evie plays this, right? He actually moves slightly over towards the right here, but here's that dive.
Oh man, the action hasn't stopped yet. Flash forward from Exakick, immediate reply. We were talking about the fact that Irrelevant wasn't able to hold down Evie long enough. Now Ruby's been jumped on by Sertuss after that push back. Dead even on CS in the mid lane, but SKO down 1,000 gold.
Yeah, I mean, at least the hijack wasn't available because Sertuss had just used a bot. Otherwise, Ruby could have been in a very dangerous situation. But now, Jankos moving back towards that bot side, make sure Jackspektra can't get this recall off. But, I mean, SK, they try to bite back on this bot side of the map, and we're going to get the replay of this top side play. But Evie, look, moving over to the wall, he ends up using that W to push the Camille just close enough to the wall. The all-out then is able to bring her across, and suddenly then it's a 1v1. And now with the extra Omnivamp, the AD, and also the help of Jankos here, they end up getting Markoon the kills as well.
I mean, Evie just stepping up, and this is a little bit scary because SK's composition was obviously kind of banking, hoping on this last pick, Camille, to have some threat, some impact, and into now the 2-0, 1,000 gold up. Evie K'Sante. The threat gets a lot scarier, especially when you consider the fact that he can combo so incredibly well.
And it's actually interesting that we haven't seen as much over in Europe is the things like the Gwen coming out as an answer to the K'Sante. Because one of the big things about K'Sante is he wants to go for the Iceborne Gauntlet, gives him the slows, gives him that sticking power in fights, but if you end up going for the AP option, he goes towards the Jack show. Not as easy for him to stay attached to the people. And that's why we've kind of seen Gwen come up, not only because she does really well against him in lane, but kind of changing up that build path can be an answer. But unfortunately, Irrelevant hasn't found that success here.
I mean, we're going to be playing on the same patch throughout the course of the regular season. So maybe as the day plays out, as well as the next couple of weeks, we may see that picked up and that adaptation come into play. But right now, Irrelevant forced to step back, that wave pushing away from him. So that's going to be a difficult scenario to play with. Sertuss and Markoon at least stepping into the river, threatening the Herald. Not going to go for it just yet. That's going to be the hijack on the Emperor's Divide. Ruby's going to use his own one to push them back and stay alive.
Yeah, he was very close. If Sertuss had gone on to him and actually got that ultimate off, could have been a very different story for Ruby. But once more, he's fine. Just farming up here. Now got the help.
There's the Glacial Prison, at least slow down Jackspektra, flashes away from that hijack chain of corruption. DOS steps forward, manages to pull back Jackspektra. The hostile takeover holds them in place for now, and that's the second kill for SK. They're not done yet. Mersa will be the next target, and kill secured by Markoon. SK are playing aggressive and forward into Heretics.
And that's what we want to see from SK. This is where we can get to see them come alive. Even look at the bot side. You're going to get plates going across towards the Zeri, and right now Markoon is playing like we saw in Excel, where he's very good at snowballing leads and getting advantages for his team. He's highly focused on this bot side, and every time Jankos goes to that top side of the map, Markoon's making a play on the opposite side.
I mean, it's a tale of two sides. The bottom lane ahead for SK, the top lane ahead for Heretics. Nature's Grot will hold Irrelevant in place for a little while. He's still got access to the Hextech ultimatum, buys a couple extra seconds with the help of the tower, gets one back, but is taken down by Ruby.
That is huge, though. The fact that you actually got that kill back, it prevents that the Rift Herald from going down on that top side as well. So Evie will get the kill, but you're actually getting two plates on that bot side. You won't take that tower in the top end. We're just going to have a quick look at this replay. Mersa and Jackspektra, a little bit cheeky on the way that they angled here. Should have gone the long way around. Sertuss with a great flash over the chains of corruption, and that actually sets up DOS here. I mean, so many flashes burned, but beautiful engage at the end there from DOS to guarantee the kill.
I mean, really, really nicely done. What do you think the impact of this will be for the next few minutes? Because SK Gaming have clearly got advantages in the middle and the bottom lane, but Ebby is significantly further ahead, 1,500 gold, and that tower is being brutalized. So both teams' strengths in different areas. It means how they move their fed plays around the map will have a gigantic influence.
I think it's so much easier, though, for a Zeri to have an impact in a game rather than a K'Sante, right? Because K'Sante can kind of isolate one target and try and take them down. As long as that target is not Exakick, you should be in relatively good spots here as SK, because how strong your just front-to-back team fight is. Even the fact you have DOS to try and interrupt K'Sante going in. And now Markoon is just trying to bully Jankos on this bot side because he knows, hey, look, we are winning this bottom half of the map.
Yeah, Evie and Irrelevant once again trading in that minion wave. Irrelevant not going to be able to get that secondary shot of the hook. Minion still helping out, forced to flash away from Evie. Next engage starting out inside the jungle. Jankos is engaged on by Sertuss. He hijacks the Nature's Grasp and throws it down. Hostile takeover keeps Jankos and Ruby inside the red pit. Markoon's low, flashes away and stays alive. Exakick gets himself another as now Mersa and Jackspektra step into the fray. Exakick's the bailout! He manages to stay alive and escape. A double kill for SK.
The blinking health bars in SK, and they manage to make the play. Hopping over the wall, Markoon stays up, Exakick's alive, and I mean, Irrelevant might not hold on to his tower for too long, though.
No, he's got a few seconds before his ultimate's available. Ebby just trying to get that down. It's so close. It's 1,000 gold lead for SK. They've got themselves that single dragon, but more crucially, Zeri 3-0 and the mythic completed.
I mean, Immortal Shield Bow done for Exakick is going to be crucial in these upcoming fights as well. Already one dragon means that they continue to put pressure on towards this dragon area as well, but just a great engage here from Markoon. He knows he is pushing bot, has actually got the stalemate in mid so Sertuss can move across, and then it's just easy for the follow. Ruby does a really good job here of trying to get as much damage as possible. Great positioning so he's actually not under threat, but as soon as that hostile takeover hits, but he's got to go over the wall, and look there, doesn't actually manage to go over because Markoon hits him with his own Arctic Assault, and now Ruby's stuck in the pit with everyone else.
Something else I didn't notice until the replay. There are so many wards from SK in this bottom quadrant of the jungle. With all the time that Sertuss and Markoon have spent roaming down, threatening those dives, they set up the vision to have a very well-informed invade that obviously unlocks the ability for that fight and give them the advantage. A minute and 40 seconds until Dragon. I keep looking at the minimaps. Some of those wards are now starting to be cleared out. If SK invest champions towards, which is what it looks like, it may be conceding the top tower.
Yeah, I think you go for it and then you try and immediately go for the play. I mean, they're even moving Irrelevant down towards this bot side. They want to try and go for a 5v5 and actually punish the fact Evi's on this top side, but Evi does have TP. So this actually won't be a numbers advantage if Evi's able to join them, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a quick TP in as this starts.
Tower is just about half HP. Teleport is available. Does it get channeled? Yes, it does. Prison comes out, insta-cleanse, no flash, and Jackspektra is down. Evi's completed the TP inside the fray. Here comes Sertuss as well as Jankos. Dot's forced to bail out for himself, managing to escape for now, and all of a sudden a couple members are rooted down. Evi jumps in for the connection. I keep waiting for more to follow up, and this time round, SK get the kill and they get away.
Honestly, the TP was a little late from Evi. He needed to get there as soon as that play was starting. If you see members go, just TP. You already got your win on the top side, and now Ruby.
Slowed down, locked in place by the Hex Deck ultimatum. Emperor's Divide buys some time, but it's not enough. DOS secures the kill, 1-0-6. SK maintains some form of control.
And 30 seconds till Dragon. I mean, this is great timing now. You get to reset. Ruby won't be up in time. No TP to get there either. So it means you've got this numbers advantage now that, again, Heretics can't play through. And once more, we're seeing Heretics, the early game not quite going their way. We're going to have to see if they can maybe bring it back with Ruby in the later portion of the game. But right now, this is very much SK in control.
Now we get to see how SK play around those objectives. Starting to move towards this mid-game phase. Tower 1 has already fallen. Looks like this may fall as well. A number of wards from Heretics in the at least mid-lane river area. And with the Dragon up as well, there's a number of players moving around. Irrelevant's got his TP available, so he's going to try and push that top wave. Can jump in if needed. Needs to be quick on that trigger figure. And this is now where we get to see how can Markoon and SK play around these objectives with the lead.
Yeah, I think once you see Ruby on this top tower, they'll immediately start up. You can see that's exactly what they're going to go for. Once you know that both TPs are burned on Heretics and they can't try and join in, you're going to be completely fine. So now with push in mid, they're totally fine to set this up. You can try and answer with Heretics here to get some control over the Rift Herald, but it looks like they're not even confident enough to go to that, knowing that Irrelevant is kind of sitting around there, seeing if he can pick people off.
I mean, Irrelevant is down 2,000 gold and 30 CS against his opposite number. That is somewhat mirrored in the bottom lane as Exakick is up 1,700 gold. So in terms of the team fights and how that's going to play out, those are the two threats you really need to be aware of and keep an eye on. And that is definitely something that Ebi will try to do, try and use that knockback ability to get rid of one of those threats.
Yeah, the biggest problem though is before you even get to those team fights, how do you try and control the map still, right? Because you're looking at Irrelevant, he's already got one item, he's working up towards the second one. Sertuss is really strong in the side lane as well, and Ruby just doesn't quite have the damage yet or even want to be in the side lane particularly.
Well, the river was controlled here by Heretics. They've thrown out the ultimate from Jankos, and that's already going to be a kill onto DOS. The bailout not helping. Irrelevant jumps over the wall, holding on to the ultimatum as Markoon's already fired out that prison. 5 versus 4, and the Sand Soldiers are sent forward, chipping away at Irrelevant's health. Now Sertuss is the focus, targeted, forced to flash, piercing arrow, and one more tick. Heretics get 2, and they can peel back for that Herald.
And we talked about Heretics, how they like to make these picks happen before the fight kicks off. DOS takes that step too far forward, and suddenly Heretics pull the trigger, get mid-tower, they're going to get the Rift Herald as well, and that gold now is back in favor of Heretics.
I mean, it's just going to be an all-out brawl around the next few objectives. 3 minutes until that Dragon. SK have at least got 2 in their back pocket, but I think one of the things I noticed in that previous fight, just the safety with which Heretics can engage gives them a little bit more time to figure out their angles. Throw down that Nature's Grasp, force SK to scatter, and that's where they're finding their opportunities and punishing.
Yeah, I think it's just a case of SK were a bit slow to get there, right? You can kind of look at, okay, well, Exakick's trying to clear out mid. You've already got DOS who's starting to move into river area where he shouldn't really be without the help of Markoon. Like, you have very easy to execute engages with Markoon, even with DOS throwing an ultimate over the top, but and you don't even have to fully commit to the engage. But look at where DOS is positioned here, right? You've got Markoon and DOS as Evi already kind of settling them, separating them. They've come in one angle, but they're not moving as a a team, even have Irrelevant still down on this top or bot side, so by the time he gets into this fight, DOS is already out of the equation. And again, we kind of talked about the ability for Heretics to kite back, reset the fight. Well, they're doing exactly that, so they take it nice and slow. They know that SK have nothing left in the tank for them to actually turn the engage around, and once Sertuss goes low, great arrow from Jackspektra to set up the burn from Jankos' demonic embrace to finish him.
I mean, SK was stepping into the darkness there. There was so much vision from Heretics in the river, nothing to speak of for SK. They get punished for it. They get punished and they lose their herald, they lose the gold, they lose a little bit of control. But it is still a very, very even game as far as the statistics are concerned in terms of the gold and the itemization. The only small advantage that SK have is 2 of those dragons in their back pocket, and they're starting to push this bottom lane, potentially pushing some vision into the bottom quadrant.
And that's the other advantage that SK have, right? They want to try and set up to keep this vision that they'd already established on the bottom side, which is why you're seeing Markoon and DOS here. But if you actually look at where Heretics are, they're like, okay, if we can at least try and shove in mid here, get good control over that mid wave, then we can fall back and clear out all that vision. But they don't actually want to try and push too far past river here, just in case there's members of SK lurking in the dark.
Okay, a minute and a half to Dragon. Dagda, how do we see this one playing out? It feels to me, with those couple of wards inside that red buff area of Heretics, SK starting to cheat towards that area of the map.
I think SK have just learned from their mistake at Rift Trap, right? Already the minute 20, they're resetting. We usually see kind of 50 seconds is kind of your standard time to reset for these objectives. It means you get back out of the map, you can try and contest with vision, but SK have already got here. They already have their vision established. So now as Heretics, you're running through a field of red wards and they can catch you out.
And can indeed. Jankos has been pulled backwards, manages to get the slam down, chunked out a little from Exakick. Keep in mind as well, we are playing on that Hextech Rift. The reason I called it out with champions like K'Sante and Camille, if they take one of those gates, come in from behind, there are more opportunities to consider. 30 seconds on the clock, midwave being pushed. Sertuss does have TP for this dragon.
And that's the thing, it's not only the map that can give you that access to the backline, it's also just the fact that there's so many wards for SK here that you can have a TP come in from Sertuss in behind enemy lines. But at the moment, has been cleared out, but here we go.
Is the engage. Hextech ultimatum has been thrown down. Nature's Grasp buys a little bit of time. SK trying to focus Ebby. Not enough damage to secure the kill. Sertuss has teleported in, as has Ruby.
That is everything from SK though. I mean, you've already thrown Markoon's ultimate, DOS's ultimate, Irrelevant has no ultimate as well. So now you're going to be looking at Sertuss. Can he steal an engage ultimate to set up this fight?
He's got the Nature's Grasp, but it has been stolen from Jankos. Dragon down to 6,000. Ebby chases forward. Sertuss hijacked ulti thrown. Dragon is now under control of Heretics. SK stepping back, kiting out. Hexgate has been used and Sertuss joining the rest of the squad. 5,000 hit points on the Dragon. Stepping into the river, looking for that engage.
The thing is though, Heretics have the range advantage and they're happy to use this. They're just poking and whittling down SK, and the war of attrition will be won by Heretics.
I mean, I think this is kind of reminiscent of what we've seen from Heretics over the last 2 days. It's their play around the objectives. Their team fights are looking fairly coordinated.
But also just the way they play the map, right? Even in that situation, they had pushed mid. Therefore, mid-wave gets mid-tier 2. Now they already have that push as well, so they're starting to set up for Baron vision, but they might just pull the trigger on this. SK should be in a position to find this, though.
Do they know? Do they know? SK stepping forward. Baron's down to half. Mersa will spot them out, and DOS pulls him backwards. Ruby caught in the wall. He's taken out. Baron is now down to 2,000. It might have just been gift wrap. Smoke fight available. Jankos secures it for Heretics, but he's lost his mid laner. Now Jankos has been chunked out and chased down. Exakick stepping forward, firing all the bursts he can. Mersa's going to be the next target while Ebby tries to escape. He turns the damage onto Markoon, as here comes Sertuss. Will be able to deal some damage. Flashes away. Markoon's taken out, and Ebby looks for another. He can find the 1v2. He's going to do it, not just yet. He's now going to be the target of Irrelevant. While that's going on, the tower is being taken out from the bot lane.
The new challenger approaches though. Irrelevant wants to try and get it onto him. Sertuss looking to keep him in check. The all-out has run off, which means Ebby doesn't have the same amount of damage.
Does he win this? Does he win this? Irrelevant has still got his ultimate available, as well as that flash. Chucks it out and should be an easy shutdown. 11 kills to SK. I think crucially removing the Baron from 3 of the members members will be very important, but we are still dead even on gold, and that time, Heretics got punished.
Yeah, that was a big mistake from Heretics. He didn't need to try and force the Baron, and especially Ruby just that little bit too far forward gets caught out. I think he was trying to bait, saying, hey, look, there's no way we're on Baron. I'm the Azir, I'm in mid lane, it's all fine, but ends up taking that step too far, and now Heretics at least should get an answer with bot lane turret, but this was a big win of just a lot of gold going over to SK. You see here, Ruby thinks he's safe with the turret, but Sertuss, great angle of attack there, failing the flash over the wall for Ruby as well, and even the flash from Sertuss there to block the dash over the wall from Ruby was really, really nice. And at this stage, it's panic stations for Heretics. They're like, hey, look, can we at least get something? Evie does a great job of getting Markoon out of the back of the pit with the all-out, but there's just too many members of SK with too much follow-up for Heretics to actually make it out of there alive.
The question is, what does this do for the state of the game? We're now entering the 3-4 item phase. Both teams have got pretty strong scaling, pretty strong team fights, and it may just come down to execution, but just from a compositional standpoint, do you think either squad has the advantage?
I think it's a little bit easier now for Heretics to kind of set up both. Even though you got most of the Barons off, you still have this 5-man or 4-man unit that can set up with Evie in mid lane. You still have a decent front line. You're starting to get Jackspektra coming online, Gwynsu's Rage Blade completed. You got Nashor's Tooth as well for Ruby. A lot of DPS and consistent damage that will be there. The only thing you've got to worry about though, Exakick. Infinity Edge now completed, he's 4-0. Exakick is having a really good game, and he needs to be the one that steps up as the carry here.
Well, right now, he's in a position to do so. 4-0-2. Markoon chases forward, throws out the ulti. It's Nature's Grasp square. Both squads hold in place, but Jankos stepping forward. Emperor's Divide from Ruby buys a little bit of time. He is taken out on the fray, though. Jankos running for his life as Evie has shunked down, forced out, and killed. Irrelevant. Exakick, the man that needs to step up, is doing so. Gets that shield, gets the kills, and now Evie is running for his life. Mersa has escaped, and he takes the Hex Tech out.
I don't know how Evie managed to take that before he got hit by something, but that was the fight that SK needed, and I love the fact that they immediately spot Exakick has Infinity Edge. This is where he's strong, and they go for that engage, catching people out on Heretics. You see it here, Ruby takes that step forward. They know he has no flash from that last fight, and Markoon pins him down perfectly. As well here, Exakick just backs away that little bit to make sure that he's going to be safe, no real follow-up. Ruby goes in to try and make the big play, but SK kind of expecting it. Everyone steps away, and from this point forward, Exakick is just free hitting the entire time, and there's nothing that Heretics can do about it.
It is so hard to play those team fights out with all of the zone control and the AoE CC. I mean, you see those Nature's Grasp flying across. I think ultimately more value was gained on the SK's hijacked version, which allowed them to focus down these split up members of Heretics. They do have a small advantage. It's 20 seconds until the next dragon, 2-1, and we are just gonna set up for another fight.
And I'm just looking for the stopwatch check. It's only Sertuss who has one available, so if someone gets caught, they are done for, and Markoon might be just that. You do see the speed up coming through for Jackspektra, but they don't want to commit there. Sertuss overextended a bit of mid as well.
And of course, there's not many summoner spells available really for anybody. I think Sertuss, any member here that has both available to him. Heretics inside the river as a 5-man stack. Jackspektra has no flash, has no cleanse, in the middle of a potential SK engage.
SK are everywhere. They're surrounding them. They want to make sure they get on towards this Varus and Azir, but can they do it? Dragon going low.
Dawson's going to be engaged on by Evie. Ruby goes forward as well with that sliding glide. Dragon secured by Heretics. It's a fight on multiple fronts. Dots will use the bailout to stay alive a few seconds longer. Irrelevant takes down Jackspektra, and Sertuss is hunting Ruby. Evie's down. Ruby is the next target, and Jankos and Mersa running for their lives. They get the dragon, they lose the fight.
The Hex Gates are coming through though. Exakick once more. He's going for Jankos.
Does he have the damage? Stepping forward with that burst fire over and over. The Ultra Shock laser not going to be enough, and Jankos lives to fight another day.
Heretics, crucially though, did get the dragon in between that, so 2 Hex Dragons across. Now, TP from SK towards the top side. They want to make sure they can get something.
No
Mersa,
way. What? No way!
What?
He manages to take the gate!
Run! It's a little
Cue the Benny Hill music. Cue the Benny Hill music. Mersa will finally go down as Irrelevant is having a little bit of fun now on the end. Oh, 25 seconds to Baron. That's a smart call. Do SK set up? They've got a 4,000 gold lead. All of the kills from those two big team fights accelerating their itemization.
And especially when you have everyone here for SK up and available, this is where now you can start to have a little bit of problems. Sertuss is going to reset, so they want to make sure that they can finish off. The Zonya's there, as also the Phoenix Konex coming in, and now they want to try and fight back once more against Heretics. Exakick has been playing these fights so well, and now he's got a GA on top of that as well. He can go so hard in this fight.
7-0-5 throughout the course of the game on that Zeri. He's played phenomenally, as the Baron will most likely be secured here. Heretics held in place by that hijacked ultimate. Chain of Corruption slowing down the engage. Irrelevance the target. Bailout by some time, but it's Ruby that's got the damage this time round. That is a gigantic shutdown that will go over to... Ruby gets the 1,000 gold from the kill and the shutdown. Two Barons removed. And that's all of a sudden SK now playing defensive.
I mean, Ruby, every time they need him to step up, he is taking over the game. Manages to catch Exakick just barely with a split call coming through from SK. And now, despite the Baron buff, they're the ones sieging.
28 seconds before Exakick is alive. DOS has been engaged on and the tower is disregarded. Ebby playing on that front foot. 20 seconds for Exa, 10 for Irrelevant. I think the inhibitor will be taken out. And once again, the swing in control. These team fights are completely unpredictable.
Evie is a different beast on this Cassante. Every single time he's stepping up, making these quick picks, making these plays, making sure that he can be a nuisance for SK. It will end up netting the inhibitor there for Heretics, but is this... Oh, they're going to try and catch them. Markoon has no idea. He has the sweeper.
Caught out, held in place. The damage is there and he can do nothing about it. All of a sudden, Markoon is down. 45-second death timers at 30 minutes on the clock, but there's no major objectives to play for. I think this will slow down any potential Baron push or lane's pressure.
And that's the big one, just making sure that they can't really get valid use out of this Baron. But you can see both of the Maokai ultimates going back and forth. It does lock up Ebby, but he's so incredibly tanky at the moment. Jackspektra's in a great spot. Irrelevant tries to play that front line, but he's really not the one that can do it. And here, Ruby, great play. Exakick wants to try and dash over the wall, but you can see a bit of a mixed call from SK, right? Exakick was going forward, DOS was setting up for the ultimate, Markoon is backing away to go over the wall. It's these kind of mixed decisions in the moment that are costing SK.
And that's the thing that we need to see refined. I think when you look at Heretics and how they play around those big objectives, they pull the trigger for the fight quickly and together. When Heretics have started and engaged, they have been punished by SK Gaming. And SK are now in a scenario where they've got a fair advantage as far as gold, but the game state, other than those super minions in the mid lane, is still fairly even.
The thing is, though, it's about summoner spells as well, right? No flash on Ruby, no cleanse on Jackspektra, and 50 seconds until another dragon fight kicks off. When SK are doing the correct job here of just going, hey, we're going to barrow down mid, we can beat you to the punch, we have the Baron buff. It's Heretics who are going to have to blink, but right now, they're just staring down the base race.
Have we got the base race on our hands with Baron-empowered minions? It looks like Irrelevant is starting to recall. He cancels that one with a couple minions still to work with. SK will take out at least that inhibitor. Recalls from several members of Heretics and SK. Now, with that mid inhibitor secured, 20 seconds on Dragon, they're backing away.
But look where Jankos is. Hold on!
Ruby's gonna get caught out! Emperor's divided by some time, but Sertuss gets over the wall, knocks them back immediately. Ebby is taken out, Ruby is taken out, and SK, they're gonna look for the win!
Heretics split up! They tried to make the big brain play, but SK read it! You can see where Jankos and Jackspektra were. They're trying to find the flank. SK said no! They're gonna go for the end!
Oh, this is unbelievable. Jackspektra needs to pull off a miracle in a 3 versus 5 defense. The super minions are pushing into the base, and this has been a bloodbath throughout. 32 kills in 32 minutes, and it looks like more are coming. Jankos has been jumped on and being focused. Jackspektra forced to flash away for his life. 2 members of Heretics standing as the minions are still up. They are still reducing their resistances, and the Nexus turns are out. The champions are down, and SK Gaming take down Heretics.
SK Gaming step up huge here. absolutely fantastic. That call at the end to call the bluff of Heretics, catch them in their jungle, was so crucial.
Unbelievable end to the game, but chaotic throughout. Skirmish, 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 throw everything at the opponents. And when you look at all those AoE CC abilities going down, whoever was hit by less ended up coming out on top.
Yeah, and I think the big core factor here as well is that you've got this immobile Varus versus Exakick, who's on this Zeri, doing so much work in these fights. And I mean, shout out to SK, they did a really good job of protecting this rookie AD carry, making sure he could step up and actually deal the damage that he needs to. And every single fight, it was the Zeri that was coming out on top.
I really, really like as well Markoon on that Sejuani. It was something that we wanted to see leading from the front, setting up those engages, and it worked out throughout the course of the game. Now sitting at 1 and 2, the fact that Heretics also at 1 and 2, they picked up that win against Astralis. Remember, there's only 2 more weeks of this regular season. Every single one of those wins is so crucial.
Yeah, especially a win over a team like Heretics. That people are kind of looking at going, you know, how high is the ceiling for this squad? What can we expect from them? A rough game from Heretics yesterday against Vitality, now again against SK. These wins really will make a big difference as to how these best of threes are going to look.
And of course, what's the answer to Ebby's Cassante, right? Still huge performance, huge laning phase. Unfortunately, wasn't able to pull it out throughout the course of those team fights. But SK, that is crucial. Very big win for them. And I think for Exakick, one of the players that there was a lot of expectations on. He's actually one of the nominees for your player of the game. You can vote at LEC on Twitter. And it is Irrelevant and Sertuss as the next 2 players. I really like that. I think crucial to acknowledge Markoon helped set them up.
Yeah, massively so. I think Markoon had a fantastic game. I think across the board, we saw big step-ups from SK, particularly as you say, the bot lane too. But, I mean, for Heretics, a little bit unfortunate, right? We start to still see just those little mistakes coming back to bite them.
And the scary thing is there's not a lot of time to adapt and to grow throughout the course of the next 2 weeks. So that rounds out their opening week here in Winter, 1 and 2 apiece. We'll have to see how they develop and improve. I also want to see how the meta is going to evolve and grow because we are seeing some different changes. So a few more games today. I'm waiting to see if Laure is ready on stage. She is indeed. So let's head over to her for the post-game interview.
Thank you, Trev. Exakick, thank you so much for joining me. Congrats on taking your first game in the LEC. Tell me about the last moments of the game. You had the National, rushing to the base. Tell me what was going through your mind.
I mean, we had Nash, and they didn't, so...
Easy,
it's just
easy.
This.
And they take the portal and then maybe
yeah, I don't know what they are doing. They were a bit griefing, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew like the TP guys would base, because they have TP, right?
Yeah.
And the other would say. But it was just a bit grief from them.
This moment, especially, if I may say respectfully, of course, for Team Heretics.
And then we were just like, just end.
The game was back and forth, though. Like, when did you know you were going to take this one? Even if you had the National, were you sure you could close out the game?
I think when we killed bot 2v2, when you double kill on Zeri, it's just GG, honestly.
GG,
like, this champ
honestly?
is broken. And their bot lane played not too aggressive, I would say. I think they could play not better, but like more aggressive.
More aggressive, okay.
We just took bad fights. Like there was one Drake setup, but that was very bad from us. And apart from that, I think we played good, and the Nash was good. I just wanted to fight a bit, and I got comboed by Ruby, so good job to him. But I think I should have 0 death this game, but it's fine.
It happens. You made it work in the end, and as you said, you guys played well today, a bit aggressive, I feel. And talking to Markoon before the game, we were talking about what has been going well for you guys on in scrims, and why it couldn't translate on stage. So what was different for you today? Tell me about the scrim experience also, and how you managed to pull this one today.
I think in scrims we are like way different. I think we don't care because we are at the office, we are chilling, and we play like we always play, we play aggressive. And I think, I mean, I'm talking for myself and probably for the team as well, but on day 1, day 2, we are completely choking. Like, I think everyone that screamed us, they were like probably laughing because we were playing so bad. And I think today we just came in like, okay, we don't care. Just play like in scrims. I think we did it like 50%. I think we can play much better on bot and for everyone. And also like the comms day 1, day 2 were like so like was so boring when it screams like everyone is talking, like everyone is confident. We worry about ourselves and not about our teammates, and just that was the instruction from today from the coaches. Just play your game and be confident.
Yeah, be confident, and especially for you and Dust maybe, and you being one of the rookies in this SK lineup. Tell me about finally being here, but also bringing Dust with you, because you've been playing with him in the LFL as well.
I mean, it feels nice, right? I've been watching this since 2015, like the Fnatic roster. And yeah, it feels nice. I would love to win more, like today, and not lose like day 1, day 2, right? But it's very nice to have those with me as well, because we had a good synergy in LDLC in LFL. We won both splits, maybe not EU Masters, but we won both splits, and I just want to show the other bot lanes that we are good and we deserve our spots. And yeah, that's it. I just want to play a good League of Legends.
Play a good League of Legends.
Just like Hans, I think.
Yeah, I was about to say, which bot lane you want to face in particular, but I think
Hans
this
Mickey.
one is Chichu. Hans Mickey.
The best bot lane in EU or Western, like,
All right.
by far.
Next one's on the list, Exakick. Merci pour l'interview. Thank
Merci
you
à toi.
so much. And Sjokz, back to you for more on that game.
Thank you very much. We also have someone else from SK here. Since they didn't win yet this weekend, we need to double up on the guests. We had Markoon also in the pre-game interview, so I guess it's a great follow-up. He already talked to it a little bit, but what in your mind worked better finally on stage?
Well, I think in scrims we realized that even if we fall behind, we're usually very happy still. We're still laughing, and I think we really tried to force this game that we're just staying happy and staying positive, I guess. So I think after I died, I was giggling a bit, and after we int, we realized, we said how we inted, blah blah, and we just move on.
Yeah.
And I think that worked wonders for us this game.
Is it one of those things where, because I saw you on the player cam laughing after you ganked top and died, was it awkward when you were laughing? Did people laugh with you? Was everyone just laughing, or was it just like dead silence afterwards?
I mean, I had to force myself a little bit because I was dying inside after that Cassante one-tapped me, but I don't think it was too awkward. It was just like, yeah, we
Okay,
inted, move on.
Good. Not a fan of Cassante.
Yeah.
No.
No.
This champion is an abomination, and I don't know what Riot is doing.
Well, it's quite strong, yeah.
So it's actually super impressive that you still won the game then, even though the Cassante was also pretty fed, also from the early points in the game. But there was a distinct switch in when you seemed to be able to take over the team fights. What was it in your mind that allowed you to flip the switch?
I think we just had to figure out positioning and team fights a bit. I think we were messing around a bit, especially at the third Drake. We were kind of awkward standing there front to back when we really want to flank. So after that, we realized, oh, we really need to make sure our Sylas and Camille are able to get to the back line. And once we figured that out, team fights felt a lot easier.
Yeah, and looking at the draft behind us, Sejuani, Maokai, just meta junglers. Is there a reason why you didn't pick up something like the Lulu earlier on in the draft? I don't know how much impact or voice you have in it, and you went for the Sejuani instead, and then dropped it over to them?
Or
Let me think. Maybe I don't want to reveal too much,
yeah.
but
True.
we just think Sylas there is a pretty good pick.
Yeah.
And also it's a huge comfort pick for Sertuss, right? He loves to play Sylas, so we just lock it in. Thought it would be good.
Tell me about the sequence where you ended up getting the Baron, but then losing the fight, and then you push into their jungle, and all of a sudden you find Ruby and Jankos. It seemed like a pretty hectic couple of minutes, but luckily it worked out.
Yeah, at the Nash we had the same problem, right? We didn't actually have a flank when we started. They kind of just walked in, and we wanted to finish it. But then we didn't realize that we actually didn't have flanks, so we should disengage. So we kind of went for the fight half, and we lost it. And then we realized that we still had decent tempo on the map, so we just looked for picking their bot side, and yeah, they took the portals.
Yeah, I think we're going to see in a second a lot of the early fights around the bot side of the map. And was it one of those things that when you went top, it fell apart, the gank, you got a double kill, Cassante's 2-0. Is it about just transitioning everything to bot side now? Did you say, okay, new game plan, not going top again?
What's this BM replay where Markoon misses his ult?
They did you dirty on the first one.
Yeah, that's rough. But I mean, I think after my bot lane solo kill, I think they 2v2 killed us right out, so we knew Zeri was a bit strong. And yeah, I think after Cassante gets a double kill like that,
yeah,
he's a bit unkillable. So I kind of just told Joel, or Relevant in the top lane, hold on, buddy, I'm gonna go bot.
This
and
fight, this fight was huge as well.
Yeah.
Landing the ult, landing the Maokai onto their Baron siege. Do you think this was a mistake from them that you capitalized upon by just going 5-man bot, just saying, you know what, we can just engage on them here?
Yeah, I think they had no flashes here on both mid and AD. So once they walked up to the tower, I think we kind of just could go, and we went and looked good.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. I believe we might have your voice comms in just a second, but to set us up for that, in general, you already said it, right? Sometimes positioning, we need to figure out communication as well. Actually, it is ready, so let's listen first, and then we can talk about it.
They're on bot.
Yeah,
We have Nash. Just go mid.
Yes.
Our wave is already eating.
Push top, maybe, push top.
Base race. No, push top.
Base race.
Base race.
Yeah, base race.
I'll need to tank.
Actually, are we fast?
Maybe one guy should base on above wave.
I think I base. They're basing now.
No, Renata is the one basing.
They're basing. Just go to Drake now. Go to Drake.
Go to Drake and go to Drake. Maybe they didn't all base, okay? Be a bit careful.
Yeah.
Check this.
Only Cassante check. Oh.
Varus is still there. Varus is still there, guys. Can we collapse on it?
They're probably here, though. Probably the TP is based.
Hey, look here. Look. I want to ult him.
Go.
Nice, guys.
What is
Azir, no flash.
And mid.
Nice, guys. Wave.
Hey, focus.
Guys, focus.
That was a lot calmer than
What
I
is this?
expected. The last thing you hear is just, what is this? Let's end. I know you couldn't hear that, but you probably can't remember either, but it was very calm. They just portal came in,
yeah,
they
you
were
can't
like,
hear
look at this, guys.
I think the moment they portaled, we knew they messed up.
It was at this moment they knew.
Yeah.
They screwed up, yeah.
But also good, finally, that you got a win on the board. And we were talking about it before we went live. You were saying, this is actually crazy. It goes so fast. If you lose this one, you're 3 games down already, and then you only have 2 weeks and 6 games. It's mental.
Yeah, it's a bit brutal. I mean, if you go 0-3 in the first week, I think it's just looking very rough, right? Because you don't have a lot of scrim days as well to fix the problems that you obviously have, because you went 0-3. And 1/3 of the LEC regular season was always just gone.
Yeah.
That's
You
crazy.
have 2/3 left to fix all your problems with less scrim days. So, yeah, I'm really happy that we got a win on the board and don't start 0-3.
And I think it's on the same patch as well. So
Yeah.
if you've had a bad read coming into this week, I think next week you're on the same patch, so you're going to have to figure things out again. But when he puts it in perspective with words, it's 1/3 of your split is gone now, and you're 0-3. You need wins now.
Yeah, it's crazy. We were talking earlier today about kind of what the stacked role is, or the most stacked role in EU, and the analysts all said jungle. Do you agree? In terms of like the quality of the players, that is, right?
I'd have to think a bit about the other roles, but probably, yeah. I mean, I think AD in Europe is also pretty good.
Oh, they said not on the list at all.
The reason we said that, because the role is just so... it's great to just one-shot an enemy AD carry and just see them rock up to a fight fed and die instantly. And that's
Sure.
Zeri,
They're
who's just
haters.
zooming around, one-shotting everyone. Yeah, we didn't really say AD carry. We said mostly jungle support.
Yeah, no, but I think jungle's pretty good. I mean, 2 imports coming from the Asian regions, you know, Malrang and Bo, I think they're both performing very well. So yeah, I would say jungle has gotten pretty strong this year.
Yeah, do you think they're really leveling up or have the ability to level up? The
I think they
junglers
already have leveled up, and I think actually European junglers will probably learn from their playstyle. I mean, I think for me, I was looking at Melvin last year when he was running him out the map, killing everyone. I was looking at that, like, what can I take from that, and trying to learn from it.
All right, final question, Markoon. Completely different environment for you. I know Laure asked it already, but when you kind of look at your goals, not just of course, with the team, you'd want to get to playoffs and you got it as far as possible, but in terms of how you want to grow as a jungler, what would you say is, you know, on your task list?
I mean, I think now that I'm in a bit more less experienced team, I think I have to develop my skills as a leader. I think right now I'm not too confident in my skills as a leader, to be honest. I think I still have some stuff that I need to figure out on how to be, I guess, as calm as possible for your teammates in comms, and just really make sure that they are finding the game as well with a good game plan, and you just make sure that they are comfortable with what you want to do in the game. And I think for me, that's what I want to work on the most, especially in this team.
Okay, cool. Caedrel, where do you
Taking-
see SK going from here?
Only upwards, hopefully. But
The
it's a
only way is up.
it's a very stressful task of like taking that burden of responsibility. You know, because you're quite a young player. You've only been competing a year and a half now in the
Yeah, it's
LEC.
actually nuts.
To just be the most veteran player on that lineup is just shocking to me. Where it's just you are the only person who can take this mantle because of your role, and you have to learn it now. It just feels a bit
No
stressful.
stress, dude.
no pressure.
It's especially because last year I'm playing with 4 other players who have like 10x my games in LEC, all of them.
Yeah.
So now, yeah, it's a big switch. Big
Yeah, your
switch.
bot lane's debuting. Irrelevant came in a little bit last
But
year.
I like it though.
Sertuss.
It means that you can really set yourself apart right now this
Yeah.
year. So we're looking
Shine like
forward
a
to
fi-
that.
like a star.
Congratulations to SK. The first win on the board. And after the break, we'll head over to BDS versus XL. Be right back.